Welcome into the Bruce Arians Show. Casey Phillips here with head coach Bruce Arians. And I know that there were a lot of efforts made to try to change some of the primetime woes the team had so far. And I know the outcome definitely wasn't what you guys were hoping for, but did you feel like there was any improvement in the way the team started or performed overall based on some of the changes to practice and other things that you guys did to try to mitigate some of the struggles from before?
Oh, there's no doubt. Yeah, it was everybody was ready to play. I thought everything that we tried worked very, very well. And, it was a game we just didn't make enough plays to win, especially in the fourth quarter.
And what were the Rams doing to limit the running game in particular so much?
Just a good job up front, and we didn't do a very good job of pressing the hole running back wise and overall blocking wise to get the job done.
And I know there were also a few drops by running backs and especially the screen pass game. And I wanted to know what you saw from those plays overall, and then just how it did affect the offense overall when not only the run game itself was struggling a bit, but then even getting the running backs involved in the passing game was struggling a little bit as well.
Yeah, the one the Rojo really wasn't even developed yet. We busted assignment on the other side, so we threw the screen way too fast. He wasn't even ready for it yet, but I don't even consider that a drop. Leonard, he dropped a couple balls he normally catches. Overall, it wasn't a really good night for the running backs, but they have the ability to play better.
And what did you think of the offensive line? We knew that it was going to be another one again without Ali Marpet in there. So A.Q. Shipley at center, sliding Jensen over to guard. And then you end up losing Donovan Smith as well for at least a little bit of the game early on. So knowing that it was not quite the same offensive line you would normally want to use, and you're facing an incredibly tough defensive front from the Rams, how did you feel like their performance was?
I thought our protection was really, really good overall. The running game was what was disappointing. I thought we would run better against that six-man box, and when we're in sub, we'd had some spurts where we ran the ball well, mixed it up, but overall it wasn't good enough.
And what did you think of the offensive linemen having to step in there in different roles between A.Q. Shipley, and then you had to have Josh Wells step in there for a bit, and then even Aaron Stinney, who has very few regular season snaps under his belt, had to come in just briefly at the end of the game there. So having to go pretty deep on your D line or your offensive line in one game, I wanted to hear what you thought of those substitutes.
All those guys played well. They didn't play that long, but when they were in there, they did their jobs. I thought AQ and Ryan did a heck of a job again. I thought all night we handled Aaron Donald extremely well, which is hard to do. It was just other guys that got us a couple of times.
Yeah, I was going to ask about Aaron Donald. You guys held him without a tackle for just the third time in his career. So what did you think it was that led you guys to be successful against him specifically when so few teams can do that?
I think guys just accepted the challenge, and knew where he was at all times, and wherever the help could come from, it got there. And, he's a heck of a guy to negate, so it was a really good job getting that job done.
Mike Evans and Chris Godwin both had incredible touchdown efforts that I think sometimes we maybe take for granted some of the things that they do, but I felt like both of those touchdowns were such an incredible display of their physicality and their effort. And I wanted to hear what you thought of each of those plays and just take us through both of those and what it said about each of them as wide receivers.
Yeah, Mike's was just, hey, let's get the first down, and then he just took it upon himself to drag everybody into the end zone with an incredible effort. And, he's big and strong and dragging that guy with one leg. So great job by him. And then same thing with Chris. It was a shorter pass. He just did an outstanding job. And anytime Chris gets near that goal line, he's going to get it in. And two great plays by great players.
Yeah, and we saw the stat that Mike Evans became the first wide receiver in NFL history to get a touchdown in each of his first 5 Monday Night Football appearances. So even when there are times that the team is, struggling in primetime games, a guy like Mike continues to show up, and going against, somebody like Jalen Ramsey, and again, a great Rams D. I wanted to hear how you felt like his performance overall, and same thing with Chris Godwin, even Antonio Brown, that you still had your wide receivers putting up some pretty big performances.
Yeah, I think Mike won that battle. He got a couple. He caught the flag route, but he still got a PI, and he got another big one down the sideline. I thought Mike played great, and Chris always plays as solid as he can possibly play. AB had a little bit more expanded role and did a heck of a job, especially with those third down conversions. Yeah, those three guys I thought played really, really well.
Was the expanded role for Antonio Brown something that you already had planned going into the game, or was it more about what the game gave you once it started?
No, it was planned. You know, the longer he's here, the more things we can put him involved in, whether it was one tight end, four wides, or just our normal three wide receiver sets.
And what was some of the decision-making behind who you used in the return game, elevating Kenjon Barner from the practice squad? And I know we'd seen Antonio Brown in that role a little bit in the game previously because of the fact that Jaden Mickens has been put onto the COVID list. So I wanted to hear just some of the thought process of why you used Barner, why maybe Antonio Brown wasn't in that role, maybe even why Scotty Miller hasn't been used a little bit more in that, and what you see for those different roles there.
Kenyon, he's been an outstanding returner for a long, long time, and he was not eligible last week either. So we had to make a roster move for the COVID and got him up, and I thought he did a heck of a job. You know, his last year in Atlanta, he had a long touchdown on a punt return. He also can give us some stuff in the passing game. So we'll hope to keep him up from now on. And, AB, he's got enough on his plate. Last week we didn't have anybody else, so we had to put him, but both those guys were out, so we had to put him back there. But only in a pinch. Scotty's just an emergency guy.
And I know there were a couple deep shots to AB during the game, just missed. And overall, wanted to hear what you think some of the issues are with the deep ball, not being able to hit it a few more times in that game particularly, but especially in games since maybe the Raiders game. That feels like the last game that it was hit on a more consistent basis, and what's been going on with that.
He's got to hit them. I mean, guys were getting down the field pretty good. I mean, AB went right off his fingertips. He usually makes that catch. But, yeah, Tom's just got to hit those guys.
Cam Brate had a couple first down conversions in a row, and he just seems to be almost automatic on those. And he actually moved up to third in franchise history for tight end receptions during that game. And as much as he maybe hasn't gotten a massive role in the offense or tons of targets, he just seems to be a guy that is so reliable for you guys. So what does he bring to the offense, and what have you seen, in particularly in games like the Rams game, from him?
Yeah, dependability. He's going to catch it. He's always going to be where he's supposed to be, and he's done a heck of a job. His role has increased a little bit the last couple of weeks.
And can you take us through the two interceptions that Brady threw, ironically to the same guy for the Rams? What happened on each of those plays?
Well, the first one we had Chris open deep, and he got pressured and didn't quite get enough on it, and we got pressure off the left side. The last one was just a poor decision, did not read the coverage properly, and threw a poor ball.
All right, well, we still have plenty more coming up here on the Bruce Arians Show. We're going to continue talking about that Monday Night Football game against the Rams and look ahead to next Sunday's matchup against the Chiefs. We'll be right back. Welcome back into the Bruce Arians Show. Casey Phillips here with head coach Bruce Arians. We're still talking about that Rams game on Monday Night Football. Later in the show, we're going to look ahead to the matchup against the Chiefs. Coach, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the defensive pressure. That's been something that you guys have been able to do a lot this season. There's been a lot of blitzing, a lot of bringing different guys and really disrupting some other teams' quarterbacks, but weren't able to get Goff down in that game. So what did you see from maybe their offensive line or their offense overall, and what was keeping you guys from being able to put quite as much pressure on him as I'm sure you would have liked?
Yeah, they threw the ball really, really quick. A lot of three-step stuff, and and we missed 14 tackles, which is we have not done that in a long time, especially in the first half. We gave them like 70 yards after missed tackles and yards after catch, and they were huge in the first half. Either that or they max protected. So we got real close a couple of times. We just got to do a better job of getting some interior push, and our outside guys are rushing hard, but we need to get some more interior push.
I mean, at least you did hold their rushing game to just 37 yards, which is pretty incredible, especially, they tend to do it by committee, throw a lot of different guys out there. What were you proud of the defense for, that even if you weren't able to get some of that push on Goff, that you were able to really hold their running game?
Yeah, the guys did a great job. That we misfit one run. Other than that, they really got nothing. And a lot of negative plays. I thought our defensive line and inside backers played well against the run. It's just that we didn't get them in enough third and longs. We left them in way too many third and shorts.
You guys did also get 9.5 tackles for loss, and Levante, of course, had 3 of those, which ties his career high for one game. What was working well to be able to get into the backfield in that way? Again, even if it wasn't on Goff, to be able to have that many tackles and that much penetration into the backfield.
Yeah, the defensive line did a great job of freeing him up, and Levante does such a great job of diagnosing plays and using his speed, and made some really, really good plays.
Yeah, I was going to ask why Levante in particular is so good with that stat, that in the top 5 guys in the league in that stat since 2012, he's the only one that's an inside linebacker. Everybody else is a bunch of pass rushers and defensive ends and that kind of thing. So why is he, particularly at his position, able to do that so disproportionately to so many other people?
Yeah, he's just a quick diagnoser of plays, really studies film, and again, he's got great quickness and speed, and when he hits it, he hits it.
And another stat Levante had owned until last night, he was the only linebacker since 2013 to have gotten interceptions in multiple games in a row. JPP now, the first guy since Levante in 2013 to do that 2 games in a row with an interception. He only had 2 in his whole career leading up to these last 2 games. So tell us about that play and why all of a sudden JPP is our interception king.
Yeah, it was amazing. They were running a screen pass. He stuffed the guy, followed him out there, and saw the quarterback throwing it. I don't know if he was throwing it away, but JPP did a great job of reading his eyes and, again, hanging on to the football. And we got to work on his run after catch now.
Exactly. All right. Well, we still have more coming up here on the Bruce Arians Show. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Bruce Arians Show. Casey Phillips here with head coach Bruce Arians. Now with a couple of those takeaways in the game that the defense had, you moved to having 19 on the season, second in the NFL in that stretch this season with that stat. And I wanted to hear what has really caused the improvement, particularly there, that even in times when the defense was doing well last year, it feels like this year the takeaways stat has been so reliably consistent. Where have you seen them improve in that since last year?
I think probably the linebackers, inside and outside linebackers, are doing a really good job in their zone drops and reading quarterbacks' eyes. You never would anticipate JPP to have a couple interceptions, but we're getting them from a lot of guys. Jordan made a great play on the ball on an in route, and just guys are doing a really good job with their eyes, and we're not dropping many interceptions.
Yeah, Jordan had that interception, and he had a tackle for loss as well. What did you see from his game? And in fact, he's now gotten a couple interceptions this year after only having 1 last season.
Yeah, just again, Jordan is one of those guys that he's going to be, when they're trying to run the football, he's hard to block and he's a good tackler. So he's always up there near the line of scrimmage. But that interception was one of his best plays of the year.
Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods had some pretty monster games for the Rams. It was 145 and 130 yards respectively. What was being a struggle with covering each of them, and what were they doing well that seemed to confuse or cause some issues with our DBs?
Cooper Kupp, it really wasn't coverage. It was tackling him. He caught 2 5-yard balls that turned into over 25-yard gains. We just missed tackles. Missed him twice on the one play on a 5-yard out. Robert Woods had a big play at the end of the game. We just miscommunicated the coverage, and we should have both those guys double covered. That play should have never happened, but it was a poor play by our safeties on that play.
And I know you ended up losing Jamel Dean for part of the game, and Ross Cockrell came in for him. What kind of confidence do you have in Ross and what he can bring if you are having to go back to him more depending on Jamel's condition?
Another really dependable, smart player. Made a great play on the screenplay. And one thing about Ross, he's going to be where he's supposed to be at all times.
There were a couple costly red zone penalties defensively for the Bucs, but overall, since that Chicago game, penalties have not really been the issue that they were there. I know you've talked about what an emphasis that has been. So, factoring in those couple from the Rams game, overall, how do you feel like the team has been playing in terms of discipline, and especially since that Chicago game?
Mostly really well. I think special teams especially. We played penalty-free football a number of games now, but those are inexcusable offsides penalty in the red zone. Giving them first downs, we had a chance to hold them to field goals both times, and giving them first downs was totally unacceptable.
Both teams were converting on third down at a pretty high rate. I think at halftime, the Bucs had converted 6 out of 8, and the Rams were 5 out of 6. What was working well offensively for you guys to get those conversions, and then not working so well defensively, trying to get the Rams off the field?
Offensively, we're staying in better manageable third downs. In the first half, we were way more manageable for third downs. Then in the second half, we got in some third and longs. And 7+ has been a problem, and it was a problem. And we just did a poor job on first and second down. They did a great job of playing the game in 3rd and 5 or less, and moving the chains on us with those short passes and screen passes. So we just got to do a better job on first and second down to get them in 3rd and longer.
Do you feel like you have a sense of the identity of this team, what they are, what they're made of on both sides of the ball, just one side of the ball? Because it just feels like there's been some inconsistency between either one game to the next or even maybe one half to the next. So what kind of a read do you feel like you have on them at this point?
I know we're going to play really, really hard, and we've been playing a lot smarter. Those 2 penalties were costly, and we've been a really good tackling team. And in this ball game, we were not a very good tackling team. But offensively, it's just a matter of each and every week if the quarterback plays well or not, and our job is to get him, make sure he's comfortable, and let him play well.
Ryan Suckup hit his 17th field goal in a row, which I'm going to knock on like all the wood things around here, so you can't say anything is my fault. But that is the 2nd longest streak in franchise history now. Just explain to us what he has meant to this team so far. I mean, he's leading the league in scoring, and just how great it is for you as a coach to have someone like him.
Yeah, I'd like to have more extra points, but he has been really, really dependable. The only times he's hit any problem when we had protection problems, and but those were nullified, and we fixed those. But yeah, Ryan's been extremely consistent, and again, I wish we were kicking more extra points and less field goals.
And I know that we had talked before the Panthers game about all the difficulties that had been thrown to the team in terms of there was the hurricane, you had to alter practice schedule, there was the plane delay. Well, then there's also been just increased and more COVID protocols in recent weeks. How does that affect you guys as coaches in trying to prepare for things when, again, that's not something you normally have to deal with in a season? How does that affect the way you prepare and try to do your jobs when now there's just because as you get in the swing of preparing for that kind of stuff, there's some new now, rules in the last week or two?
Yeah, it's really not hard for us. We have such a fantastic facility that we don't have to do anything virtual. We can do everything here at One Buck Place, inside or outside. So it really hasn't affected our preparation whatsoever.
All right, well, we still have one more segment coming up here on the Bruce Arians Show. We're going to look ahead to that matchup against the Chiefs at Raymond James Stadium this next Sunday. We'll be right back. Time for our final segment here on the Bruce Arians Show. Casey Phillips here with head coach Bruce Arians. And I know that any short week of preparation is not ideal, but when you are doing it against the defending Super Bowl champs, that seems like an even taller order. What are the particular challenges with this team of trying to prepare on a short week?
Yeah, it's very, very hard. Again, you lose a whole practice on Wednesdays. And again, it's going to be a very mental week. This time of the year, it shouldn't affect us that much, but they have so many weapons on offense, and defensively they're playing extremely well also. So for us, it's just getting healthy, getting rested, and trying to stop Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, that's a thing that I think a lot of teams have tried to figure out. So I'm sure if you've got the blueprint for that, a lot of teams would love to have it. What do you see from him at this point in the season now? He at least is a little bit more of a known quantity than when he first came into the league. What are some of the things that you see in terms of his strengths, his potential ways that you can try to exploit that with defense, and what it's going to look like trying to stop him?
Well, he has no weaknesses, that's for sure. And, the guy can backpedal away from pressure and throw it 40, 50 yards on a dime. So we're going to have to pressure him. We're going to have to get after him. We're going to stop that running game, because once they get that running game going there, that's a two-headed monster. But between Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill and all the rest of their weapons, it's a really big challenge for us.
Yeah, what have you seen from running back Clyde Edwards-Helaire as a rookie this season, and what he has brought to, as you mentioned, an already multi-dimensional offense?
Well, he's a good pass protector. He's a really strong runner, hard to bring down. He's got excellent hands. He's a heck of a back, and that's why he was taken the first back in the draft. But then you add Le'Veon Bell in there, so they've got a good 1-2 punch, and they're not missing any weapons at any position.
And as much as they get a lot of attention on their offense for good reason, their defense has some potent people, definitely one you're familiar with, Tyrann Mathieu. So tell me about their defense overall and the people and the aspects of it to look out for.
Well, Chris Jones is a guy that NFC teams don't know, but he's almost as disruptive as Aaron Donald. This guy's an interior player that just creates havoc. Frank Clark off the edge, like you said, Tyron. They've got a good young secondary. So again, they're a very highly rated defense and a really good football team.
All right, well, that's going to do it for us on this edition of the Bruce Arians Show. Coach, thanks so much for being with us, and good luck against the Chiefs.
Appreciate it. Thank you.